So lately I've been really obsessed with how things sound, and more specifically how to make things sound as real and as authentic as possible. As I mainly listen to older music, and there's just something about how things used to sound compared to now that you can really just feel. And so in today's video, I want to show you some ways that you can make your recording sounds more authentic, more vintage, and just more real in general, all inside your DAW. And I promise after this video, if you just follow these steps, your music's really going to come to life and sound completely different than it did before. Now right here, I have, as you can see, a very nice MIDI keyboard. This is the FL Key 49. So shout out to Novation for sending this over and sponsoring today's video. The cool thing about this MIDI keyboard is it's the only MIDI keyboard right now that integrates perfectly with FL Studio. And it really gives you kind of more of a hands-on experience that you can't get by just, using your mouse and whatnot. Now, the first thing you need to think about in order to kind of add some motion and make your music sound a bit realer is your performance. And what I mean by that is if we're working in a DAW and all of our instruments are digital, if they were real live instruments, how would you play them? So for example, if we take something like a guitar right here. In your DAW, you might do something like this. You might go in here, click in your notes. However, that wouldn't really make much sense because if you take an actual guitar, play a C major chord, you're gonna strum down on the notes and you're not going to hit them all at the exact same time. And so we have to do the same when we're creating chords. And so you'd wanna do something more like this. Press Alt-S or Command-S on a Mac and just strum it a little bit. You can either do it really dramatically like this, or you can do it a bit faster like this. And if we wanted to take things even a step further, oftentimes when you're playing a guitar, you'll be strumming it multiple times and playing it at a particular rhythm. We could do something like this where we kind of just chopped up some chords and have them repeat a bunch. And that doesn't sound that real yet, but that's more so how you'd kind of play it. But we'll get there. By the end of this video, it's gonna be sounding as authentic as we can get it. Now, if we take other instruments like a piano or a synthesizer, performance is gonna be a little bit different. Most likely, when you're playing on your keyboard or whatever, you're not going to be hitting the notes perfectly on time either, but they're most likely not going to be in a strumming manner. I mean, you could kind of do something like that when you're playing piano, but typically what's going to happen instead is not every single note's going to be played at the exact same time. Not every note's going to be held for the same amount of time, and not every note is going to be pressed with the same amount of force. And so this MIDI keyboard is velocity sensitive, and so let me just record this and show you what I mean. We'll press record right here and turn on the metronome, and let's press play. As you can see, each note has a different amount of force applied to it. If you look over at the velocity, each note is not perfectly on time, so it's a little bit off. If you want to adjust it, you can. Just don't make it too perfect. And then for the most part, the same thing applies to most other instruments like flutes, saxophones. Probably the easiest thing for you to do is just use some sort of a MIDI keyboard and play them in. If you don't have a MIDI keyboard though, another thing you can do is you can go in and manually move your notes around and whatnot and play with the velocities, or you can select all, you go up to the little wrench tool, you go to humanize, and this will just make it sound like someone's playing it. And for drums, you'll essentially want to do the same thing, but I've got a cooler thing to show you for drums in a moment. And so I went ahead and added some other instruments just so you can see how everything kind of sounds together. Versus if we had it all in perfect time. So, a lot more stale. Now, looking at synthesizers in general, one thing you can do to make them sound more analog, and I'm gonna get into something later that will also help, but one common thing that artists will do when they are using actual hardware synthesizers and why a lot of people like them is because they'll play with the different knobs on the synthesizer, and one of the most popular ones is the cutoff. If we go to Shift plugin right here, if you're using a native FL plugin, you can essentially play sounds like a synth. and just add some automation and whatnot to the sound. So we'll do the cutoff right here. Next, let's talk about how things are actually recorded and how to get a sound that sounds somewhat similar. So for example, if we take these keys right here, they sound really dry, very computerized. And the first, and this is kind of like a unique way to do it, and in my opinion, it sounds the best, and it's free to do as well. But what you're gonna wanna do is, because if you think of something like a grand piano and how it's actually recorded, you can't typically just plug them into your interface and then it'll do the piano recording. Instead, you typically will have to mic a piano. So put a microphone, you can put it in different places. Each of the different places you can put it will offer a different sound, and sometimes you can use multiple microphones as well, and it captures both the piano sound as well as the room's reverb and other cool and interesting things that might be going on. And so to kind of mimic that sound, what you can do, and what I ended up doing was I took out my phone, went over to my voice memo app, and then with my speakers, and you can use any speakers that you have to do this, I just pressed record while the piano was playing. And so I recorded a little bit further away from my computer in the center right here. I did one up high over the speakers like this, and then I did one that was a little bit more close up the speakers as well. And then I did one where I was like at the very back of the room as well, just to really capture the room. And look at how different and how much better it sounds. So this is again the current piano. And then here are all of the other pianos together. Like, it sounds way more intimate, interesting, way more, I don't know, I get a lot more emotion from that than I get from this. And in this case, I actually went over here and just selected Shift, Pan, and then moved down the mixer right here, and I just ended up panning two of the piano sounds for that kind of wider sound as well. And this was just the quieter, more distant pianos. And essentially you can do this for most instruments. Works great for guitars, especially acoustic guitars, as those are usually recorded with a microphone. You can plug it in, but it depends on the sound you're looking for. And then even electric guitars, because often how people record electric guitars is they'll have some microphones pointed at the amp, and then oftentimes they use 1-2 microphones. Sometimes I've even seen people that will have a third microphone like out further to kind of pick up the room a bit more. And then they'll kind of layer all those sounds together. Now, another thing you can do, and I'm just gonna use it on all the instruments just so you can hear the difference, is if we go in here and we just give a listen right now. That sounds cool, but if we just add some reverb to each of these sounds, and then if we add the keys in terms of using reverb, the thing that has, I think, the biggest impact on personally is drums. If you want your drums to sound like somebody's actually on a drum set playing them, I feel like adding reverb just always works. So for example, I've got these 3 drums right here, and I sent them to a bus and added some fruity reverb, and here's how they sound with reverb. So I'm just gonna shift here, channel rack, and select this right here. So those sound pretty cool, but if we take that off, they sound very stale. So let's just add some drums here, metronome, record, press play. Now the next thing we need to talk about is adding some imperfections, which we kind of been doing because everything has been perfectly in time and whatnot. I'm talking about some actual like audio imperfections and also some audio character. The first thing that you can do, or the first 2 things, let's pair these together, is one if you want to make it sound almost like a story or like a scene that you're trying to create for the listener. One thing that you can do that's really easy is just pick out kind of an atmosphere that you feel like your music would sound good in. This right here, I'm feeling like I could hear this in like a big city or something like that. Pick something where you'd like the listener to kind of be transported to. And so right here, I've got this city street sound. Sounds dope. You can be as subtle or as loud with this as you want. So let's start off loud. Turn it down a little bit. That's probably where I'd want it. Yeah, now we're creating like a real story. Now we turn it off though. And then another really cool thing about this is if you press these little arrows right here, you can control the volume of everything with this right here, which is super helpful for just mixing quickly and kind of getting a feeling. You can automate things as well and just play with these sliders. And then another thing we can do if you want more of like a vintage sound, and I'm gonna show you another option, we can take a like cassette player sound, and right over here I have my Tascam, which I actually ran my latest song in here. It sounds much different than if you just do this, but this can add some cool texture while keeping your mix like super clean. So let's just play this right here, and you're gonna wanna turn it down kind of low. The reason you might want to do that is because a lot of older recordings and whatnot, which often sound very real and authentic, were recorded using things like this or actual reel-to-reel tape machines. The con with this method though is if you want to really take it back and get like an authentic kind of vintage sound, is this isn't affecting the rest of these sounds here. It's really just adding like a kind of a crispy noise or whatever, whereas actual tape, well, actually does stuff to all of the sound in general, especially depending on which kind of tape you're using, whether it's a cassette tape, whether it's like a reel-to-reel tape machine. So what you can do instead is use some sort of tape emulation plugin, but I'm just using RC20 here. There's a bunch of free stuff online as well that you can use. So this is with it on. Take it off. Sounds a bit brighter. But yeah, hopefully you all learned something. Hopefully this kind of helps bring your music to life a little bit more. Shout out to Novation again for the keyboard, and I definitely think if you're an FL user, probably doesn't make sense to get any other MIDI keyboard, because I mean, this just does so much more, and it comes in a bunch of different sizes. But yeah, thanks for watching. Check out this video. I'm working on my album right now, and I'll see you soon. Peace.